Hello everyone, I'm Brian. Today I'm reacting to Sadhguru at IIM Ahmedabad. I probably pronounced that wrong. Youth and Truth. So we're going to go through all of Sadhguru's Youth and Truth, and we're going to find out how, I guess, people in certain areas, I guess the questions that they have, and kind of how they think based on the questions. And again, I read some of the comments on the last one. I don't know if I read them all or not. I just read what's given to me in the email. Apparently, Sadhguru stopped this. It's kind of, I'd say it's kind of sad. I mean, I think, I do believe, in my opinion, that Sadhguru makes a huge impact by going into these colleges. Especially talking to the young kids and you know, answering their questions. Obviously, I mean, there are going to be bad faith people in any place you go to, but I think by even going to it and answering their questions genuinely, you could potentially change their mind. Potentially, I didn't say you guaranteed. Potentially, there's always a possibility, especially if you reason with them. But there are people who are unreasonable. There's a nice famous saying that I remember hearing: you cannot reason with people who never reason themselves into. It's something along those lines. Basically, they thought of something, but it was unreasonable of how they thought about it. So you cannot reason them out of it because how they got there was unreasonable in the first place, essentially. Anyways, I was going to get started.
Today we have with us a man who needs no introduction, as evident by the crowd. So we'll dive right into the questions.
Shall I say something before?
Sure, go ahead.
Well, the question is definitely there in a lot of people's mind. Why a moment like this? How this came about? In the last 36 years that I've been active with people, there's one constant refrain from people. Thousands of people have asked me the same question. That is, Sadhguru, when I was 20, where the hell were you? You came when I'm 60. If you came when I was 20, I would have done this, that and something else. I've been hearing this from so many people continuously.
I guess real quick, the good thing to add to that is the fact that now his videos are online, and now obviously there's going to be some people who can't access the internet, but at least majority of people can view Sadhguru's videos now. Even when he does pass away, he will hopefully live forever on the internet. I don't know, I'm laughing because that's kind of a weird thing to say the internet as something good, because everyone talks down on the internet because it's just a whole bunch of crap for the most part, but there's genuinely good stuff on the internet as well. You just gotta know where you look, and Sadhguru is gonna be one of them. I can only hope that people in his, how do you say, his areas, like the Tennessee area and in India, will keep his videos alive and continue to re-release them as they get old, just to kind of refresh the people and new people that come in onto the internet.
So we thought we will step out and talk to people who are below 25 years of age, and that's why Youth and Truth. And the fundamental of this is, see, what we call as life. This life, you may have so many ideas about it, so many emotions and thoughts about it, but essentially this life is a certain combination of time and energy. We have a certain amount of time and a certain amount of energy. Time is rolling away for all of us. If you sit here, it rolls. If you do something, it rolls. If you sleep, it rolls. If you're awake, it rolls. Whether in wakefulness or sleep, in work or laziness, whichever way, in dynamism or lethargy, time is rolling for everybody. In Tamil, there's the term that is used for death is kalamaittanga. It means his time got over. Such an appropriate description. After all, that's all that happened. Time got over. So time is getting over for all of us. As we sit here, it's not the clock which is ticking, it is our life which is ticking away. You cannot control it, you can't slow it down, you can't roll it back, no choice about this. It rolls forward for all of us, no matter what we do or we don't do. But energy is something we can manage. When we talk about energy, this segment of life that we refer to as youth, when you're in this segment of life, your energy is at its highest exuberance. Most youth do not understand this. They think they're going to be like this for always. You just have to pay attention to the old people. They were not born like this. They were also youth. Slowly, volume gets little down, not me. Otherwise, slowly the intensity of energy volume gets lower and lower. If you just observe how they sit and stand and walk, you must know you're going to get there very fast, actually. So, when your energies are at their peak, if you brought little more clarity and balance into your system, well, this energy could work for you in a miraculous way. This exuberant energy can do wonders in human life, or it can cause disasters in human life. The same enthusiasm and energy has taken people's lives. I'm saying this because I grew up in 60s and 70s. By the time they were 35, at least 12 for sure, other two I think they also went by that way. 12 to 14 people that I knew and who were dear to me, they all died before their 35 years of age. Simply somebody overdosed, somebody drank themselves to death, somebody killed themselves on the motorcycles, somebody fell off the rocks, all kinds of things. It is the same exuberant energy which got them into these things. The same exuberant energy, if it had a little more balance and clarity, they could have done wonders. But unfortunately this happened. It's not only in terms of death, it happens in so many different ways. Disaster is not always in the form of death. Life didn't take off, that itself is a disaster. So, when you look at this, see, every human being, every individual has an innate genius within them. The question is only, will they find an appropriate ambience within themselves and around themselves to unfold their genius? This, unfortunately, in this world does not even happen to 1% of the population. This is my estimate. In your institution, if it is more, you must tell me. But generally, in the larger population, not even 1% of humanity manages to unfold their genius, simply because concerns of earning a living, survival, some nonsense takes them up, they fall in love, something happens. Either outside situations don't cooperate or inside situations don't cooperate. So, what I'm looking at is, if we can increase this percentage, let's say in this generation from 1% to 10%, we will have a phenomenal world. Because you cannot create a great world or a great nation or a great society, you can only create great human beings. If you create great human beings, great societies and nations and world will happen. It's a consequence. We cannot create the consequence, but the source of this is human genius must unfold. Only then you will find human beings functioning at a level well beyond what we normally consider as normal. It should become normal. It's normal for a flowering plant to blossom. Similarly, it must be normal for a human being to unfold and blossom their genius, because it's innate. It is only looking for an atmosphere where it is possible to do that. Can we create that in the society? Maybe it's a long way off. But can we at least create it within ourselves? That, if you're willing, is possible now in this generation. That's why I'm here with you. Let's see what we can do.
That, in essence, answers the first question which we had planned for you. So we'll actually move on. But what we have tried to do is so we are representative of the student community, and we have taken their questions and actually tried to divide them in themes. And several themes have cropped up, and we'll proceed theme-wise during this conversation. The first theme that cropped up was about ethics and morality. And even though this wasn't the exact formulation of the problem, there were versions of this. And the version was that if Sadhguru could go back into the past, not because of yogic powers, but if there was a time machine, and with foresight, with knowledge about what happened during the World War II, would Sadhguru kill baby Hitler? Is the first question that cropped up.
Oh man. So I talked about this in some of my other videos. There's a movie called The Last Supper. Very old movie, but I like it a lot because in that movie they asked the exact same question. I believe it was like 5 people, and they invite people to their house. I can't exactly remember if it's always the same question, but you know, the obvious answer is yeah, absolutely, you do it to end the war. I mean, you know with foresight that he would kill a lot of people. But then at the same time, he is innocent at that moment. He has not done any of those atrocities yet. So, are you willing to kill an innocent person? And I asked this question to a friend, and they said, well, yes, because you know without a shadow of a doubt that he would do these things. So it's still a tricky question. You know he's going to do it, but he's also innocent at the same time. But the answer that was genuinely amazing, which is I think the good answer, at least from what I've heard thus far, is from that movie The Last Supper. I will not say it. Yeah. You could probably look it up on YouTube and give them the views on that one, but it was an amazing answer. I liked it. Let's see what Sadhguru has to say.
Would I kill the baby Hitler?
Knowing that 6 million Jews could be saved.
And World War II would stop.
See,
Maybe. You don't know what would happen if you kill Adolf Hitler. Someone worse could arise in his stead. You never know. It could be even worse. It could be like half the world population died because, you killed Hitler. Who knows? Or it could be like there would be completely peace throughout the entirety of the world from then forth. There'll be no wars, no fighting, anything in between.
Adolf Hitler is a consequence, is not the cause of World War II. In the sense, there has been centuries of hatred about the Jewish people. It did not suddenly crop up because of Adolf Hitler. Well, he used it politically to do all kinds of things, that's a different matter. But this hatred has been endemic in the population. Not for 1 or 2 years, for literally 18 centuries. It's been alive. Now, Adolf Hitler became a representative of that hatred, and he consolidated that hatred, organized it in such a way that it became a mega disaster. But the disaster has been unfolding for a long time. Forever people have been accusing Jews of being a Jesus killer and wanting to get them. In so many ways they've been persecuted, not in one way. Every generation has small-scale persecutions happening in various societies across that part of the world at least, not here. So, when Adolf Hitler came, he saw what you're accusing of Adolf Hitler is competence. Everybody had the same hatred. He organized his hatred into a very competent, results-oriented thing. Any number of human beings have come who are as much tyrannical as Adolf Hitler. Fortunately, they were not as competent.
That's my question.
I don't know if he studied in IIM because his organizing skills are extraordinary. You have to look at that. If he had organized this, not against a particular community, but for the well-being of the world, what a fantastic organizer he is. So his competence is what we're talking about. Hatred was there in the society. He organized it and made it into an end result of a disastrous kind. See, in every generation there are tyrants. Fortunately, they're impotent. Fortunately, they're everywhere. Don't think they're not there. Every day I'm meeting thousands of people. You should see what kind of mindsets people have. How much endemic hatred they have for somebody that they do not even know, including me. People who have never met me, people who have not had a word with me, they have so much hatred. Say, what's the problem? You've not even seen me yet. But no. So this endemic hatred is bred in the society in the form of religion, in our society in the form of caste, creed, ideologies. See, everybody is focused on Adolf Hitler. I'm not trying to belittle what he did. He is one man, so many people cause pain to each other, but he is one man who organized human pain like nobody else. He made a machine out of it. In a real organized way, like an industry. He did not do killing just for killing's sake, he made a killing industry, proper industry. Actually, they set up factories of death. So never before nobody organized it, but don't ever think nobody had those intentions, nobody had those same emotions, they had. But this man organized. So would you kill the baby Hitler? No, it wouldn't help, because another guy maybe with competence would have come up. You never know. So, what we need to work at is, we need to work at, as I was telling you, a culture of peace. This is important. We never worked at culture of peace. Only when it explodes in our face, we want it solved. Otherwise, we're just going about our business. The way we are driving on the street is violent, all right? It's not fast, it's just violent. I wish they were driving fast. If they were skilled, they would be driving fast. They're unskilled and they're violent drivers. Violence means you don't mind if somebody gets hurt, isn't it? Hello? Violence need not necessarily mean I'm going to throw a projectile at you. I don't care if you get hurt. This is violence, isn't it? So this is all over the place. We need to see culture is not something that you can build overnight. Slogans you can build overnight. You can do anti-demonstrations overnight. You cannot build a culture overnight. It takes a lifetime of dedication to bring that about. Nobody has shown that dedication. Everybody wants immediate solution. When something explodes, everybody will scream. Once it's over, they go about their business.
To pause it right there, because that is very much true with a lot of things that has happened in the United States. They build up these anti-demonstration, as he was saying, and they are not willing to work on the culture. I mean, don't get me wrong, that's like everywhere in the United States, and that's the kind of the problem. There are a lot of issues that kind of builds up to this bigger issues, and we're not willing to work at these issues in the cultural terms. We just want immediate results. That's it. With no, again, this is something with the pills in America. Maybe Western culture? Again, I think this is not necessarily Western culture, but it's definitely prominent in it. But I think this is more along the lines of very developed areas, whether that be just a city, a town, where it becomes water, food, and shelter is not an issue, but they're starting to live very high above the global means, I guess you could say. We're just very much technology and everything. I don't know how else to put it. Metropolitan style areas, I suppose. And this is where just things that are quick, they want. Anything that requires work or effort to do, they don't want it. It's too much work. They got other things to worry about. So, like Sadhguru was talking about here, culture, very much something that takes time to build, and it's very difficult. A lot of people nowadays, and when I say a lot of people, I do mean globally, generally speaking, and probably more than likely well-developed areas that don't. Well-developed areas, generally speaking, are not willing to work at some things because, one, they're probably too busy, they don't have time, and someone else should fix the problem. I think that's what the most of the issue is. Everyone's trying to succeed. No one has time for anyone, and someone else should fix the problem. I think that's it. It's I have my own problems to fix. I can't fix anyone else's problems, and that's the world that's turning into now. It's kind of like that. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not everywhere, obviously. I think it's, like I said, in very high developed areas. I don't think it's just necessarily the Western world itself. I'm sure you can see it, but I will say there are exceptions to a lot of areas that are developed that don't necessarily have this issue, but they have kind of a different one.
So, it is very important. I want you to understand, Adolf Hitlers can be born just about anywhere. just about anywhere. Because the culture of disliking and hating other people who are not like you is so rooted in the society, it's just a question of, he must do an MBA here.
Real quick with the Hitler thing, a little bit of history. As far as I know, I do believe this to be kind of true. I've watched a few of it, just kind of curious as how he came to be. I think Hitler rose up because of World War I. Everyone blamed Germany, even though Germany didn't start World War I. Germany started going bankrupt. Their money was completely worthless. A lot of people were starving. People are wanting change, and they're willing to vote anyone into power to make that change. Hitler just took advantage of that and started, I do believe, started blaming the Jews. And with that, he rose to power, saying that he can make the change. He can make other people pay for what happened, because then the Allied powers blame Germany, and Germany's economy suffered, people were suffering, and they just wanted it out. Hitler was the way. So you could blame it on Hitler, you can blame it on the people that voted for Hitler, you can blame it on the Allied powers. Kind of like when Sadhguru's Karma audiobook that I was listening to, he talks about we have our individual karma, but we also have our kind of like global karma or group karma. I can't remember what he called it, but in a sense, it's kind of like your cultural karma, your city karma, your state karma, your country karma, in some sense, because of how he described karma. And all this kind of gets, I guess you could say, intertwined with each other. And because of the karma of the Allied powers, along with the people, is what developed Hitler to the way he was. And I do believe that. When you look at karma as just actions and thoughts, and how everyone processes it, again, Allied powers blaming Germany and the German people wanting it out, Hitler arose.
I'm giving compliments to the institution, it's not…
Completely get it, but the main issue over here is that you tackle the root causes rather than manifestations of the root causes.
Yes.
Exactly, so…
Consequences cannot be dealt with. It is the process we need to address.
So the youth of today have a bit of confusion about the whole spirituality. We believe that the basic tenets of humanity, like justice, equality, fraternity, should be enough to be a better human being. And if you're a better human being, and if you're happy by yourself, is there really a room for spirituality?
Yes.
Please repeat those three values.
Justice, equality, and fraternity.
Justice, equality and fraternity. I want you to understand this. These are wonderful thoughts, but with horrible results on this planet. Because people who talked about this, well, Marx spoke about it, Engels spoke about it, Joseph Stalin spoke about it. But Joseph Stalin killed 3 times more than Adolf Hitler. Am I correct on the number, or you're disputing the number?
I'm not disputing the number,
Okay.
but there is a fallacy in this argument.
We'll come to that. I'm saying you can carry any number of values, but you will see people will learn to subvert their own values in so many ways, depending upon how much pressure is put upon them.
I was going to say, real quick, how you interpret what is justice. Because justice is not hard to find. Justice is a social definition of what it is of current times. So justice back in the past is very much wrong today in current time. And what we think justice of today could be very well be wrong in 20 years from now or 100 years from now.
So instead of morality, instead of this kind of moral structures, it is better that we fall back on our humanity, which is more reliable and always there. If we want to fall back on humanity, if you'll give me a couple of minutes, okay? See, what is it that is setting us apart? Why is it I must think that there must be fraternity? Because first of all, I think you and me are separate. Now I am trying to build brotherhood, isn't it so? First of all, I think the way you are is whatever. Now I am trying to include you. But how did you come to this? You have come to this simply with little bit of accumulated information in your mind, the data that you carry, which is your thought process. Your entire thought process is coming from limited data. Now this data is the feed for your intellect. Because you understand somewhere, maybe not articulated in your own mind, but you fundamentally understand the nature of your intellect is, it will always make you and others separate, because that is the nature of the intellect. Only because intellect is functioning, you have a discriminatory mind that you can discriminate, that is him, this is me. Otherwise you won't be able to discriminate. The other dimensions of intelligence which is in human being are all unifying in nature. Instead of going into those dimensions of intelligence and functioning, you are using your intellect. If I ask you a simple question, would you like your intellect to be sharp or blunt? You must choose, I'm going to bless you right now. You want it sharp, because intellect is a cutting instrument. So you use a knife to put people together, you will leave it in tatters, believe me. You use a knife to cut things, that's fine. To handle material aspects of life, you use a knife because you want distinction. When you handle people, if you use a knife, maybe with the best intention, you will still cause enormous damage. This is the unfortunate manifestation of the principle of communism. There is no more compassionate expression of humanity than communism, do you understand? You can tell. There is actually, in philosophy, there is no more compassionate expression, because everybody according to their need, not according to their greed, is a fantastic idea. But wherever they tried to implement it, what happened was enormous violence simply because it's an intellectual idea. And intellect can only cut. If you try to sew with a knife, everything becomes tatters. This has happened repeatedly again and again. But there's another dimension of intelligence within you, I will skip. In yoga, we look at human intelligence as 16 parts, I will not go into it. The last part of intelligence is referred to as chitta. What this means is, an intelligence without an iota of memory in it. Why is this important is, see, you are who you are and I am who I am only because of the memory that you contain within you, isn't it? You are separate, I am separate, how? That is one silo of memory, this is another silo of memory. When I say memory, it's not just what you remember and don't remember. There is evolutionary memory, there is genetic memory, there is karmic memory, there's varieties of memory. The very way you sit and stand is because of your memory, yes? The very way the shape of your nose is, the tone of your skin, everything is memory. So what you call as myself is a product of a huge amount of memory. Memory allows you to do many things in the world, but at the same time, memory is also my boundary. This is my friend, this is somebody I do not know. How? Because I remember this one, I don't remember this one. It's memory which decides who is mine and who is not mine, what is mine and what is not mine. So there is an intelligence within you which is beyond memory. If you dip into that dimension of intelligence, in your experience, all boundaries have disappeared. In the sense, if you sit here right now in this hall, and even for one moment, even for one single moment, if you experienced all these people, just as the way you experience the 10 fingers of your hand as a part of yourself, after that, do I have to tell you morality, fraternity, equality, this, that? When you see somebody as a part of yourself, when you have known somebody as a part of yourself, there is no need for any principle or any morality.
I think that part, just to see everyone as part of yourself, that is just something very difficult to grasp. How else can you explain that? For someone who doesn't follow Eastern philosophy or Advaita Vedanta or what Sadhguru preaches, and that's something I tried to think of, but I don't think there's… I've thought about it a little bit, but it hasn't come up in a lot of videos, so I haven't thought about it even more. To say that someone's your friend, well, he's not, so you kind of remove that. Say he's part of your body, so well, they're not. How other ways, how else can you show that as an example? I don't know if it's even possible. Maybe the way he's saying it is the best way to say it. I'm trying to think of other ways to say that would make a lot more sense, but it's just so difficult to grasp. Like, how can you say that he's part of me, or how should I know that person, you know, because he's talking about the discriminatory mind, and obviously, if I don't know you, I don't trust you, I'm not going to let you get close to me because I have no idea if you have good or bad intent.
This is what spiritual process means. Spiritual process means you begin to experience something beyond your physical nature. Why this is important is, physical nature can only happen in defined boundaries. Without a defined boundary, there is no physical process, isn't it? This is my body and that is your body. How come? Because this is a boundary. Now this is my mind and that's your mind, because there is a boundary. But there is a dimension of intelligence which has no memory. If you enter that dimension, you will see that there is no memory. Because there is no memory, but still you're alert and alive, because of that, there is no boundaries. This can be explained in so many ways. See, if you do something very intense, if you do like this and just hold it like this, you can… Shall we experiment? Just for 20 seconds, vigorously rub your hands together with your eyes closed. Hold it about 3 inches away from each other. There's something happening between your two hands? Or you didn't try that? You don't believe in experimentation? Okay, that's fine.
Definitely tried it.
Did you? Did you see something between your hands? There is a certain energy. Why I'm saying this is, right now your definition of this is me and that is you has come like this. It is… See, how do you know? Can we do another experiment? Are you okay? Your right hand, let's touch your left hand. Is that you? Yes? Yes. Touch the chair on which you're sitting. Is that you? How do you know this? What tells you this is me and this is not me? No, 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 no.
It's not attached to me.
There is sensation here, there's no sensation here, isn't it? Essentially, it is the boundaries of sensation which tells you what is me and what is not me. What spiritual process means is, you get your life energies into such an exuberance that your sensory body expands. If your sensory body expands, everything within the boundaries of your sensation, you experience it as myself. Right now, this water in this tumbler is definitely not you, but if you drink it, it becomes you, isn't it? This many kilograms, how did it come? Something that was outside now is within the boundaries of your sensation. Now if all these people are within the boundaries of your sensation, even for a moment, if you actually experience them as a part of myself, after that, do you need morality?
So I guess the main part was that the question, I think, got lost in translation, because in essence, you guys were both talking about the same things.
I thought he was speaking in English, was he?
True, but translation is not always just language, it's also intent.
Okay.
He also implied that if people start looking at other people not as other people, but as humans.
But how will you do it?
According to me, the knowledge that we are all humans is essential to us.
See, it is between human beings that this problem happens. We all know we are humans. If you were a tiger, I wouldn't fight with you.
In essence, we are saying literally the same thing, we're just coming from different fronts. We are all humans. The fact that certain people have not acknowledged that we are humans is the cause of this problem.
I don't think they have not acknowledged, they have acknowledged.
They have said that we are different kinds of humans.
Not really. Within a family, there's a lot of fight going on, brotherhood, fraternity, equality, but more clashes are happening within the four walls of a home in a family than between India and Pakistan, believe me. No,
I just seen the guy on the left there, the one that's right next, closest to Sadhguru laughing and made me laugh, like, why? I guess it's true in his family.
You can ask me more questions. Huh?
I'm genuinely not frustrated by this, it's just that the example which you have just given, that there are more clashes which happen
Is it happening or not?
than outside, is in essence, first of all, it is not essentially fact-based because it doesn't take into it's on an assumption of how many clashes occur between India and Pakistan. The second is, it assumes that clashes which are occurring within the family are of the same magnitude.
See, magnitude is different because we are not armed within the family and we have no intent to kill, all right? We have no intent to kill. But clashes are happening, isn't it? Emotions are happening. Are they happening or not?
If you believe of everyone as your extension of your spiritual being, would clashes also not happen?
See, spirituality is not a belief, that is where you're wrong. See, you think spirituality is one more belief like your values. Your values are made up by you. Spiritual process is not made up by you. If you sit here and breathe, what you exhale, the trees are inhaling. What the trees are exhaling, you are inhaling. Is it a fact or is it my idea? It's a fact. Now this fact is only intellectual, but experientially if you sit here and actually experience one half of my lungs is actually hanging out there, which is the fact. If you experience this, after that, do I have to tell you, don't cut the tree?
That's actually a really good example. I know he said that before, but I guess the way to translate that then is if I cause harm to someone, they're bound to harm me. So if I don't want them to harm me, I shouldn't harm them, perhaps? It's kind of like about the tree example where if I breathe, I need to exhale for the tree to breathe and for the tree to exhale so I can breathe. If I want to continue to breathe, I better not harm the tree. Or at least I better plant many trees if I were to take one down to replace the tree that I cut. Obviously we're going to need trees, but replace the trees. And I think that was one of the biggest issues in the world too, well, in freaking the world, is people just cutting down trees and not replanting. And anyways, but yeah, okay. That's an interesting way of putting it, but still very difficult to explain the idea of what Sadhguru is talking about. I think it's still it's a good one. I don't know why I didn't think about what he said. He said it many times too.
See, there is human thought. This whole thing comes from the fundamental that we have made human thought far more important than the reality of the existence. Human thought is very small because it is just a consequence of little data that you have in your head, isn't it? All the thought that you have is coming from the data that you have gathered. Whatever data I have gathered, whatever you have gathered, whatever all of them put together have gathered, is still a minuscule in this existence. Is it so? Hello? You may be a PhD, but I'm asking you. Is it a minuscule? So with such a small piece of information, you're coming to conclusions which is not right. That is why spiritual process means you don't attach any importance to your own thought and emotion. You see how to dip into those dimensions of humanity which is not defined by boundaries of your physical nature. This is what spiritual process means. Spiritual process is not a belief system, it is not an ideology, it is not a philosophy. When your experience of life is little more than your physical nature, then you use this corrupted word, spirituality.
I don't think that was the answer he wanted, I'm sure. I think I understand what he's talking about a little bit, but it's a very it's a way to translate what Sadhguru's talking about to someone like him and me. I have an idea of what he's talking about, but to practice, to bring that forth into practice or practicality is a little bit difficult. Obviously he has classes for that, and perhaps that would explain it a lot better. Because I think he tends to be, at least the one in the middle, kind of like me. Obviously, we want to do objective truths, physical stuff, obviously. You're talking about spirituality or things like when you rub your hand, that's still physical, that's part of the physical reality. You're creating static and heat. So that's the reason why that's there. It's not something, something that's not, what happens in the middle of your hand, it's not something that's in the non-physical realm. By the way, I'm ending the video here because I don't want to run too long, and there's a couple of more segments I'll break it up into. So if you want to hear me ramble, here we go. But yeah, I don't think I'll ramble too much. But yeah, this is all part of the physical realm, and that's what he delves into, and that's what very much I delve into as well. But that doesn't mean that what Sadhguru talk about is all nonsense or whatever. About other dimensions, I don't know. Obviously, one thing I completely 100% agree with Sadhguru is to experience it, and I trust that when you practice his things, whatever it may be in engineering, you will come out a better person, no doubt, and that's what I think a lot of people need. The sad truth of the matter is not everyone's going to want to do that or believe in it even, and that's, I think, where a lot of the translation kind of needs to happen. And this is what I'm trying to understand with Sadhguru. Like, you said, oh, this is not me, kind of like you're not the body, not the mind. A lot of people say, no, I am the body, or some people say, oh yeah, no, I'm the mind though, and then to translate that as a way like, well, technically you're not quite the mind because you can chop off pieces of the mind and you're still there. Although I'm sure, and my belief is there's a certain part of the mind that once you chop that little tiny piece off, that is it. You are no longer there, but the body may still function, may have instinctual reactions of nerves and stuff. I've seen some YouTube videos where I think they have some frog legs and put salt and it starts kicking, even though it's been dead for a long time because it's just synaptic nerve, I believe. And again, you can say it's like, well, that's not the truth. It's like, well, science right now is very, very, very young, and maybe it'll never find it. Maybe we are something outside of the body, but I don't know. And this is something Sadhguru pushes to. It's like, there's a very powerful statement you can say, which is you don't know. I believe in this, but I'm not saying it's absolute fact. No. You can say, is that true? It's like, no, I don't know. I mean, that's what I believe at the moment until I experience something, until other facts come into play. That's about where I'm leaning. Do I believe it an absolute fact? Nope. Do I think it's the truth? Nope. Maybe. But what do I know as absolute truth? I don't know. But then this is something that I push back a little bit with the comments, is the fact that yes, you like absolutely say you don't know, and I 100% agree with that. But it's just I look at it as a spectrum. Anyways, let's say this is the middle, and far right is you absolutely believe in, far left is you don't believe. I'm about right there in terms of or some part of the brain, but I don't know for sure. I'm closer to I don't know than I 100% believe. And this is just how we kind of, in my opinion, how we kind of understand things. 1 + 1 = 2. 100% believe that to be true. There's no doubt in our minds so far. So it's 99%, not quite 100%, because, all we know is maybe some aliens come over here and say, nope, 1 + 1 = 2. I'm sorry, 3. Like, what? Doesn't make any sense, because so far in the entirety of our lives, math has been correct. 1 + 1 = 2, not 3. But you get my idea. It's the fact that we breathe oxygen. We need oxygen to live. That is without a shadow of a doubt, right? Now, obviously, it's not 100% oxygen. We could actually die from 100% oxygen, but we need oxygen. Now, could there be another material that could substitute for oxygen? And then we don't breathe off oxygen. That's a possibility. But as far as right now what we know, we need oxygen to live. Without it, we'll die. 100% oxygen, we will still die, called oxygen poisoning, which is kind of weird to say. But it's true, I think, if I remember correctly. So there are some truths that we know. We need oxygen to live. Now, could you live off something else? Possibly. But do we know what it is? No. I guess that's kind of my statement. It's the fact that we can say some things to be true. It's not to say that it's the only truth or that's 100% fact. For the most part, it kind of is to some things. But yeah, hopefully I came out not completely confusing. I tried my best to explain, but I know it doesn't always come out right. It's better to do one-on-one talks. That way you can ask questions and I could try to clarify my answers, but I do the best I can. It's not always right, not always clear. It's always jumbled, I'm sure. Anyways, that's part 1 of this. I don't know how many parts this is going to be. I'm hoping for only 3. But yeah, who knows? If I talk too much like this, then it's probably going to be 4. Anyways, that's my reaction to this, at least for part 1. If you like my content, please consider subscribing, thumbs up, thumbs down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.